a very significant issue, and there have been vehicles in Canada that have been tracked to Africa. So this is not in isolation for the town of Montreal-West. There are certain measures that you can take as well to make sure that your car can be, there are other devices that you can add to your vehicle that can assist if thieves try to break into your vehicle to steal your vehicle. There are some additional measures that you can take. I suggest taking this up with your car dealership or your insurance company to get more information of how you can protect your vehicles. We have also issued in the Informer a number of articles as well about car theft, and people can look up those articles in the Informer on how they can reduce car theft. And we also had SPVM earlier in May to talk about how you can protect your vehicles along with some other security issues that were flagged by the SPVM. We had some attempted car thefts on October the 22nd. Where Toyota Highlanders were targeted, and another Highlander was stolen as well from the Westminster parking lot. One was targeted on Brock North as well. And there was a wallet that was stolen from the town hall parking lot. Again, I urge you to please lock your vehicles. Don't leave any valuables inside. That people can be targeted for leaving valuables inside of their vehicles, and not to make it easy for thieves. And we know that some of them are extremely sophisticated. So worth mentioning one more time, leaf blowing for 2023. Leaf blower usage has been restricted since 2009 to a 2-week period for spring cleanup from April 15th to May 1st, and from November 1st to November 30th for fall cleanup. Outside of these 2 periods, the use of leaf blowers and leaf vacuums is strictly prohibited. This year, however, gas-powered leaf blowers and vacuums will be prohibited from being used in the town as of November 1st, 2023, as per our nuisance bylaw Article 8.2F. That means that only electric, corded, or battery-powered leaf blowers will be permitted to be used during the leaf blower usage period from November 1st through November 30th. The town has published an e-bulletin to this effect in October 2022. The town will be following steps with an information campaign to reform and remind residents and their contractors. Another e-bulletin will be sent out shortly. A letter will be sent to every licensed contractor on the town's permit list database to ensure that they're aware of the change in the bylaw. As of November 1st, our public security officer will be doing their rounds and enforcing the policy in the following manner. For contractors that have their landscaping permits in order, public security will issue warnings and information leaflets for the first 2 weeks. So we will be doing an information campaign. We will not be giving out fines during that time. For contractors that do not have a landscaping permit, the same 2-week tolerance will be given, but the contractor will be obligated to get permits in order. Otherwise, it will be fined and a follow-up will be done. After the 2-week initial warning period, the bylaw will be in full force. For residents that hire landscapers, please ensure your landscaper has the town-issued permits in order and they abide by the leaf blower usage restrictions, as ultimately the bylaw holds the property owner responsible for any infractions committed by anyone they hire to do work on their property. The fines for non-compliance are $300 plus court fees for an individual, $459 total, and $600 plus court fees for a company. That's $917 total. Donc, c'est très important de parler avec vos péagistes concernant les souffleuses. Et aussi pour les permis, c'est très important que tout le monde a leur permis. Donc, il y a des amendes si les personnes ne conforment pas par rapport les lois de la ville de Montréal-Ouest. Donc, c'est $300 plus les frais, donc $459 total pour les individus et $600 plus les frais pour une compagnie, donc c'est $917 total. And that is my report for this evening. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and send me an email. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Small-Pennefather. Reporting from seat number 2 on matters pertaining to public works, communications, and the environment, Councillor Elizabeth Yulin.
Thank you very much. Bonsoir à tous. I'll start with the Public Works file. When writing my report, I often ask the department what issues they've been dealing with a lot lately so I can offer residents relevant information. This month, Public Works has received a significant increase in the number of requests for public tree inspections, primarily from concerned homeowners. There seems to be some misconception about our public trees and how the town maintains them. So I'd like to provide a bit of context. In 2010, the town undertook a comprehensive evaluation of all its trees, all our public trees, the first in over 25 years. Tree maintenance work was then prioritized based on the public tree inventory. Using best industry practices, another full inventory was done in 2020, evaluating all the public trees with a certified arborist. Since that time, we've prioritized tree maintenance work based on that inventory. Of course, things can change, and residents often call Public Works with concerns about the public trees near their property, and please continue to do so if you're worried about some tree issue on your property. But it's important that you know that each public tree in town has been evaluated by an external arborist at least twice in the last 13 years. And therefore, we already have valuable sets of data that are issued for each tree on our territory. And all future work is based on that assessment. For instance, you may notice that a crack in the bark has occurred, but our data may show that that's been there since 2010, and it's not getting any bigger. That's the advantage to having an extensive inventory. So please don't hesitate to contact the department, but also know the Public Works assessment of your tree is based on a lot of pertinent data that you may not have it on hand. So that's the essential message the Public Works Department wants to get out in this season. In the environmental portfolio, the department's been working on the last Zero Waste Challenge, collating all the results, tree inspections, and an awareness campaign for Circular Economy Month, which is the month of October. The Environmental Action Committee has been working on various projects, including a review of our wood burning regulations, increasing biodiversity in town, studying the potential for bike routes on the territory, and better waste management practices. Et finalement, le département des communications a créé des outils de travail avec d'autres équipes pour s'assurer que les résidents disposent d'informations importantes sur les échéances des saisons de taxes sur l'eau, nouveaux règlements sur les souffleux à feuilles électriques, les événements communautaires, ainsi que sur l'amélioration de la diffusion en direct des séances du conseil municipal. That's it for me. I'd be very pleased to answer your questions during question period. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin. Reporting from seat number 3 on matters pertaining to finance, recreation, and topics related to the status of an age-friendly municipality, Councillor Colleen Feeney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and welcome everybody. Bonsoir tout le monde. I'll start off with the finance and administration portfolio. Les factures de la taxe sur l'eau et les relevés de compte avec les soldes impayés ont été envoyés le 24 octobre. La date limite de paiement de la facture de la taxe sur l'eau est fixée au 24 novembre. The deadline for payment of the water tax bill is November 24th. The City of Montreal's Assessment Department has received 45 requests for administrative reviews for Montreal-West residents. If you recall, there was a property valuation redone last year. So 45 residents submitted a request for revaluation. To date, of those, 16 files, or 35% of the assessments, have been maintained as filed. 25 files, or 55 of the assessment values, have been decreased. In one file, the assessment value has actually increased, and 3 files are still being assessed. Thought you'd be interested in that information. The other thing the administration is very busy on right now is, of course, ongoing work on the 2024 budget. You'll see later in this meeting that we will be passing disbursements for the past month totaling $682,767. I always like to let you know where your tax dollars are going. And in this past month, about 25% of them are going on deductions at source and utilities, which amounts to, the lighting is not very good here, about $190,000, and about the same amount in public works. In the major contracts that were given this month, there's in-contract work outside contracts for the public works was $43,500, and the main part of that was $37,000 for line marking. Garbage, which of course includes recycling, compost, and garbage, is $57,000, and $22,000 for vehicles, and of that, $17,000 was for suspension for one of the major trucks. In terms of capital expenditures, there was $58,000 spent on water sinkhole repairs on Sherbrooke. And for the new recreation center, we spent about $43,855. The main part of it was for the architects, Blue and Tardif. And also, we bought a new vehicle, $63,700 for a new public security vehicle. Those were the major expenditures for this past month, I should say. We also spent $18,000 for our Aglo water bill, and that was those are the major costs. So, in addition, the third quarter, the Q3 report has been compiled and will be deposited, thank you, Penny, later this evening. The report shows revenues slightly over budget, but increased expenses in some areas, particularly public works, and that was due mainly to some of the water main breaks and costs associated with the ice storm in April and flooding. We do anticipate a small surplus at the end of the year. Moving on to recreation, I'll start with the community center. The fall programs, believe it or not, are halfway through, and it's almost time to start thinking of winter. We were reminded of that with the snow this morning. So winter registration is now open, and those programs begin the week of January 8th, 2024. And there will be Zoom and in-person for specific programs only. We have a few upcoming programs for the youth. One of them is the Red Cross Stay Safe program, which will be held on Saturday, November the 18th, and that's for 9 to 13-year-olds, and the Red Cross Babysitting program, which will be held on Sunday, November the 19th, and that is geared for 13 to 18-year-olds. Pour les événements spéciaux, les événements sont affichés sur le site web de la ville, sur Facebook et sur Amelia si une inscription est nécessaire. Un bulletin électronique est également envoyé pour les événements à venir. I have to say I popped in to the Spooktacular Family Fun, which was held in the town hall yesterday. There were over 120 children and adults in attendance, and the entire afternoon was a great success. So congratulations to all concerned. I want to make sure you also save the date for a couple of upcoming events, and 3 of them are regarding Remembrance Day. There's the Walk to Remember, which is led by Dr. Drummond, and that will be on Saturday, November the 4th at 1 p.m. The Remembrance Ceremony on Sunday, November the 5th at the Montreal-Ouest Cenotaph, right here beside Town Hall at 12:15, and a Remembrance Lecture by David O'Keefe on Monday, November the 10th in the music room at 7 p.m. The Veterans banners are along Westminster, and veteran placards were placed in front of the homes and around town in October. A map and location of the different homes is available on the website under Roots and Remembrance. If you've never attended any of the Memorial Day ceremonies and events, I really highly recommend that you do. It's something that I think they do an amazing job here in town on, a very good job of remembering our veterans. So you're all welcome to any of these events, and I hope to see you. La cérémonie de souvenir aura lieu au Cenotaph le dimanche 5 novembre à 12:15. Another upcoming event, December 1st, a rock and roll dance party with a live band, vintage wine. Tickets are available on Amelia, and they are $20 in advance. As well, the CP holiday train will be coming to town for the 2023 holiday season. It will arrive on Tuesday, the 21st of November. The event begins at 6 p.m. on Broughton. The train arrives at 6:45. There will be performers, Seaforth and, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Kiza, from 7 to 7:30 p.m. So stay tuned for road closures on that night. As well, a highly popular event, Breakfast with Santa, on Sunday, December the 10th at the Town Hall. You have to choose your time slot at 8 a.m., 9, 10, or 11. Again, tickets on Amelia. The seniors were busy this past month. They had several events, including a visit to the Botanical Gardens on October the 17th, and on November 11th they will be going to Cornwall to see the musical 100 years from now. We had a very successful consultation, MATA, which is Municipalité Amie des Aînés, for age-friendly town. That was held on October the 21st, with more than 50 residents in attendance. I wanted to publicly thank Montreal-Ouest resident and keynote speaker, Dr. Natalie Phillips, who gave a very interesting and enlightening speech. I also want to thank our Seniors Advisory Committee and Councillor Maria Torres for facilitating the roundtable discussions, and of course, the 50 residents or so who attended the consultation and provided us with excellent ideas and feedback. I'll write a more complete report about this in the Informa this month. Et puis, ça c'est la fin de mon rapport. Si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas à m'envoyer un courriel ou les poser plus tard au cours de la réunion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. And reporting from seat number 4 on matters pertaining to urban planning, Councillor Maria Torres.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome. Bonsoir à tous. During the last month, the Urban Planning Department issued 44 permits. These were given for construction of new fences, decks and porches, walkways, public intervention, excavations, and renovations. 7 notices were sent. 2 were for sanitation and maintenance of dwelling, 2 for work without a permit, and 2 for inspection requests, and 1 for non-compliant work. Thankfully, no tickets were issued. During the above-mentioned period, the Planning Advisory Committee met twice, on October 11th and on the 25th, and reviewed a total of 11 files. The next PAC meeting will be held on November 8th and on the 22nd. The deadline to submit complete files to PAC is 2 weeks prior to the meetings. Les prochaines réunions du comité consultatif d'urbanisme auront lieu le 8 et le 22 novembre 2023. Les dates limites pour soumettre les dossiers complets au comité consultatif d'urbanisme sont de 2 semaines avant les réunions. I would like to mention that last month there were 4 bylaws amendments approved. I wrote a summary of these amendments in the last Informer. If you have any questions concerning the amendment, please do not hesitate to contact me or the Urban Planning Department. Finally, please remember that if you're planning to carry out works, you should always verify with the Urban Planning Department whether the projected work requires a permit or not. All applications for permits and other authorizations must be done via the town's website. The procedure is explained on the website under the Urban Planning Department section. N'oubliez pas que si vous prévoyez des factures de travaux, vous devez toujours vérifier auprès des services d'urbanisme si les travaux projetés nécessitent ou non un permis et que toutes les demandes de permis et autres autorisations doivent se faire via le site web de la ville. La procédure est expliquée sur le site web de la ville sous les services d'urbanisme. C'est tout pour c'est moi. Si vous avez des questions ou des commentaires, n'hésitez pas à me contacter ou le département d'urbanisme. If you have any questions or comments, please do not hesitate to contact me or the Urban Planning Department. Merci à tous et bonne soirée.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres. We're going to move right to first question period. At our first question period, we answer questions from the floor for a maximum of 25 minutes. We limit it to 2 questions per person, a short preamble, your first question, and a follow-up question if you want. And I remind you, it's a question period, not a debate period. After questions from the floor, we'll answer questions from residents that have been submitted online until 2 p.m. today, and that's on any topic. Same rule applies. Lors de notre première période de questions, nous répondrons aux questions de la salle pendant un maximum de 25 minutes. Nous le limiterons à 2 questions par personne, une courte préambule, votre première question et une question de suivi si vous le souhaitez. Et je vous rappelle que c'est une période de questions et non une période de débat. Après les questions de la salle, nous répondrons aux questions des résidents qui avaient été soumises en ligne jusqu'à 14 heures aujourd'hui sur n'importe quel sujet. Les mêmes règles s'appliquent. I see there's people in the hall tonight that has submitted a question online, so it's one or the other. Either you ask the question live or we'll read the one online. It's up to you. All right, so step up to the microphone, state your name and your address for the records, and go ahead and ask your question.
Knowles, 256 Percival. Can you hear me okay?
Want to repeat that?
Okay. The City of Montreal banned gas heating, right? Is it working?
For the John Clark, your name and address again, I'm sorry. It wasn't-
Harold Knowles,
That's better.
256 Percival.
Thank you.
The City of Montreal banned gas heating in new construction, I believe. I heard on the news.
For new buildings
For new
and for
buildings.
new installations.
Right, new installations. And then by 2030, you're not going to be allowed to have oil heating, I think.
Something along those lines, and I think they also added gas. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Knowles, they're also talking about if you have to change your current oil furnace now,
Right.
they won't, already you're not allowed to put in a
Right.
new oil furnace. That's Montreal, I'm not
So
sure about their rules.
What I'm hoping is that we're not contemplating the same thing in Montreal-West.
We have not had that discussion at all. We haven't even started on that discussion. We started talking about, because the same kind of question came up with wood-burning fireplaces. So
Right.
though we haven't pronounced, our thought process was along the line like no new ones. If you want to put in a new one, has to be an environmentally acceptable one, but we're not there yet.
Okay.
Okay, so we haven't had the
We've
discussion.
had more power failures, I think, in the last couple of
Oh, yeah.
years than ever before. We've been here 40 years. I
Yeah.
can't remember a time when there's been more power failures.
And I think they're going to increase.
And then everyone's going to plug in their electric car.
Mhm.
So on a January night when all the electric cars are in and everyone's heating with electricity and it goes down, we're all going to freeze in the dark.
Yeah.
So please, can we not have any of these bylaws for Montreal-West? That's
And-
all I'm saying. I know this is way in the future, but I think it's really,
That's
that wasn't a comment on the,
You know, that's a fair comment, Mr. Knowles. And I can stand to be corrected. I don't know Montreal's rules. I think there's some kind of an exemption to allow you to burn your wood, your old spewing fireplace if there's a power outage. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know their
that.
rules.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
Lucky for people who have fireplaces. But
Yeah.
I just think it's this war on fossil fuels is completely stupid. And that if you just rely on one energy source, you're taking a huge risk. And I just hope we don't see it in Montreal-West.
Okay. Thank you. I
Can-
appreciate your comments, Mr.
Can I
Knowles.
just
Thank
add one thing?
Sure.
Because we have been working with Hydro-Quebec on a project that they're doing, and one of the reasons they want to improve their grid is because of the power outages, and also because they know that there is more and more demand every time for hydro.
Well,
So
we
I-
have
I
a lot
do
of
know
nice
your
trees
point,
in the town,
but-
which we
Yeah.
all love, and all the branches,
Yeah.
they all get old, the branches collapse on the wires, and okay,
Yeah.
that's just what happens.
Yeah.
But to have only one energy source for all our energy needs, I think is completely stupid. I hope we don't follow this trend. That's all.
Thanks, Mr. Knowles.
Daniel Marcuz, 446 Wolseley North. I have a couple of small questions. First of all, regarding those yellow cones or orange cones, I'm happy to say that Public Works started working and they fixed the problems on the east side and west side or they're fixing on the west side of Westminster, so I'm glad about that. I received my water bill this week, and I wonder why are you mailing those water bills rather than send them by email? I send my reading by email. I would expect you to do the same thing. First of all, it saves money. Secondly, I know it will not get lost in the mail, which it does happen. So why don't you do that?
If I can just answer, and though, again, I stand to be corrected, I bet you there's some kind of a legal responsibility that we actually have to mail it as opposed to just emailing it, Mr. Marcuzzi.
Because we
it's-
are getting all the bank statements.
I get that.
The government of Canada,
I
the
get
government
that.
of Quebec.
Yeah, but this
everybody's
is-
sending
this is-
emails.
But you
this
don't
is
get
Quebec.
your tax bill by email. Your
Uh,
municipal
tax bill-
I get the notice of assessment by email.
Absolutely, but your
But
tax
not
bill
the
still
tax
comes by
bill.
mail. Yeah,
I
and
don't know,
I could
I
be
think
wrong, but I'm just thinking that's what it
Maybe
is.
it's something that
Yeah.
you can check. It
Yeah.
saves money, and it's not just for the water bill. It's for anything
Yeah.
you can send by email rather than by mail, which gets lost and it costs money.
Yeah.
And the other thing is again Public Works. Why don't you have street cleaning signs on every street in Montreal-West at a particular time, because many times I see the sweeper passing by and their cars parked. It's not on my street. On my street, everything is fine. But
Could you repeat that? Could you repeat that again, Mr. Marcos?
well, it was not, but it is
I'm
now.
just teasing you. I'm just
I
teasing
got
you.
it. But it's just that there are many streets, Radcliffe, for example. There's no sign saying you shouldn't park between such and such time. And there are so many leaves there across from Edinburgh School and all those places. Why don't you have a specific time for that?
Elizabeth, can you answer that?
Yeah, I really, the only rationale is that we don't get complaints, we don't bother, we don't change it if it's not
Well,
broken,
but you can see the leaves on the street.
Well, but it's not been an issue.
I'm the only one that's complaining all the time, and sometimes things are done. So maybe.
Well, but now you just said your street is fine.
But I think that the town's job is to clean the street, and I think that when there are it's work done for nothing if there are cars parked and the sweeper passes and the leaves are not collected. And especially, you said yourself that you need to make sure that there are no leaves so the water can go into the sewer properly. So why don't you arrange something like this? It's done in Montreal.
Well, not on every street in Montreal.
Every street in Montreal
Well,
is
look,
street cleaning.
we don't do things the way Montreal does. Mostly
But
that's a good thing.
some things are done properly there too. But
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Marcos.
Hi tout le monde.
Your name and your address, please.
Giuseppe Abbattiere 206 Sheraton.
Thank you, Mr. Abbatiello.
Yes. Hi tout le monde. Bonjour tout le monde.
Bonsoir.
Bonjour, Mr. le Maire.
Bonsoir, monsieur.
I got a question for leads blower.
Okay. You want to know when and
When, what kind of leads blower we use,
okay.
you know?
Elizabeth, you want to answer that for the leaf blowers?
And I'm sorry, what your question?
The rules, like when.
The
when
rule,
we're
what
allowed to
kind of
use
you?
You can use your gas. You can't use your gas-powered leaf blower at all anymore, but you can use an electric leaf blower the whole month of November. So starting from Tuesday for the whole month, and then
Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday?
Wednesday, Wednesday.
Oh, November 1st, so
Yes.
Wednesday, sorry. So from Wednesday, you can start, and then in the spring, there's 2 weeks in the spring when you can use the leaf blower. I don't have that offhand, but we always publicize it in the bulletin.
So we can use just, I can do use a gas blower.
No. And we passed that bylaw. Est-ce que vous préférez que je continue en français? C'est plus facile pour vous en français?
Oui, c'est ça.
OK, sans problème. Alors, nous avons changé les règlements l'année passée, si je ne me trompe pas. Je pense que c'était l'année passée. Et nous avons dit qu'on vous donne jusqu'à cette année pour s'acheter des appareils qui fonctionnent en batterie ou d'une manière électrique.
OK. On va montrer les prix des bleurs à batterie, si vous voulez.
Ça, c'est vous. Vous pouvez le déposer. Merci, monsieur.
Pour moi, ça prend pas 100. Bleur 3000 plus. Batterie plus 37 livres en arrière.
Je comprends.
Mais
ce sont des choses que nous avons toutes besoin de faire. Et on n'est pas la seule ville à le faire. Il y a plusieurs sur l'île de Montréal. Certains, ils l'ont enlevé complètement. Nous avons donné une année de grâce pour vous donner la chance de vous préparer. Et on laisse des périodes où vous pouvez l'utiliser. Il y a certaines places où vous ne pouvez plus les utiliser du tout.
J'ai regardé pour l'acheter, mais c'est 3000 et quelque chose.
Oui, je comprends. C'est pas facile.
Et ça ne dure pas longtemps, ça dure 1 heure.
J'ai aucune idée. J'ai aucune idée qu'est-ce qui se passe sur les choses électriques.
Tout est marqué
maintenant.
sur les papiers, là.
C'est
Si
les
vous voulez,
règlements.
vous pouvez faire quelque chose.
Et Lauren voulait ajouter quelque chose.
Oui, aussi, j'aimerais juste ajouter les dates pour le printemps. C'est entre le 15 avril au 1er mai. Et pour l'automne, c'est le 1er novembre jusqu'au 30 novembre.
Ouais.
Merci, monsieur.
Merci.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, Monsieur Boulouris.
Daniel Boulouris, 204 Wolseley, Nord. Ma question est en anglais. Je l'ai envoyé cet après-midi. Je n'étais pas sûr si je serais ici ou non. Montreal-Ouest is the only municipality on the island yet to install a bike path network. I am certain that all the other municipalities had various logistical issues like loss of parking spaces and whatnot to overcome. Yet they all made cyclist safety, specifically child cyclist safety, a priority, and they did what had to be done. Is a bike path a priority for this council?
I think I can say yes, that it is. We had a discussion in caucus just before this meeting, and we've had discussions like that before, of course, during the year. So yes, it is a priority for us. We have as you know, we have a bike committee that's working locally to look at places that it might be most suitable to have bike paths or bike routes. We're also looking now more than ever at the agglomeration, who is set to give their recommendations for the town of Montreal-West by the end of this year. They had 5 years to do it, so we're going to look at that and see what they're recommending. And hopefully between what our bike committee is able to find out through their studies and their local research and what the agglomeration has proposed, we'll be ready. I'm hoping to have some kind of a proposal by next year as to where we want to go forward with this.
Thank you. Can I have a follow-up question?
Absolutely.
Yes. I've talked about this before, and often I get the answer that, well, you know, the AGLO has something to say. The subcommittee on bike safety, of which I'm a member, over the last months, we've been doing rush hour counts of the number of cyclists at the difficult Westminster-Sherbrooke train crossing junction, and we'll soon be submitting those statistics to council. Spoiler alert, there are many, many, many Royal West students on bikes. Every rush hour, coming from all directions. It's quite chaotic. The bike committee truly hopes that the statistics will spur council to act with more vigor. If we wait for the AGLO, it can be a long time. I don't see why we have to wait until we do like bike things through everywhere. We know like that's especially the most difficult area. I really think we should start there, and then the AGLO has other things that joins up with other existing bike networks we can, but I'd rather we don't wait for the AGLO, who are traditionally slow on these things. Like you said, Elizabeth, 5 years, and maybe at the end of the year it'll come.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'm going to be interested to see what your research shows. And we obviously, you know, we're not experts on the council. The bike committee isn't an expert on any of this either. We can gather data, but in the end we're going to have to get some professionals to look at this and really recommend what would be the safest places for these routes to be. But that would be the next stage. I think it is going to be useful if we find out what the AGLO has to say, because if they determine that the bike route is where, you know, let's say on Brock or you know, on Broughton or wherever they decide those routes should be, well, we should get some assistance in getting some specialists to help us out with that implementation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boulouris. Any other questions from the floor? Okay, we'll move now to the questions that were submitted online. First question actually was asked before the period today. It's from Daniel Lemieux, 22 Brock South. The meeting we continually requested was to cover some pressing issues noted in my last communication. For example, my insurance company is asking for, among other details, an engineer's report that states that the flood on Brock South was indeed a water main break and not the result of the significant rainfall the day prior. This would seem like a simple request and hopefully one you can honor. The town, Ms. Lemieux, the town does not have any engineer's report stating that the flood was caused by a water break rather than the rainfall, and that's partly because that's not our pipe, it was Montreal's. The sheer volume of the water that flowed that night and the fact that it was Montreal that undertook repair works to fix their pipe should speak volumes about the origins. Thank you. Next question from Michael Smith, 14 Brock North. Curious is why you would pass a law requiring permitting for generators. A standby generator requires an electrician, so there's already oversight with building codes. Further, with our poorly maintained power grid, where people have lost power sometimes for a week, what added aid and oversight would the town's expertise add to the installation requiring a permit? Councillor Torres?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for your question. The reason we need a permit nowadays is because prior to this amendment, the residents were authorized to install all different mechanical equipments on the outside of the house. However, it did have a stipulation. It had to be on the back of the house or on the back part or the second part on the side of the house. Too many people were not following this rule. They have been installing these equipments in the front of the house, for example, on the facade, or on the first half of the side of the house. So upon inspection, we had to go and ask them to remove them and move them, and that costs a lot of money. So it only has to do with the location of the equipment, not the technical part of it. We just want to ensure that it is installed on the proper place within the property. That's what the new permit is all about. Thank you so much for your question.
Thank you, Councillor Torres. Next question comes from Ann Taylor, 5060 Rue Vaillant. And I'm going to be honest, folks, this isn't a question that has anything to do with Montreal-West. She's asking about a new park on Rue Vaillant near Parc Turcot. So, Ms. Taylor, I'm sorry, that's not a park in Montreal-West, so unfortunately I can't offer any guidance or any answers on that whatsoever. Next question comes from Ian Robinson, 143 Brock North. Good evening. At the last council meeting, Councillor Feeney indicated that the town of Montreal-West would be borrowing monies in excess of $15 million from the Royal Bank of Canada for the arena project. May we know precisely the interest rate on each loan and the term of this loan? Thank you. Councillor Feeney, please.
Yes. Thank you very much for your question, Mr. Robinson. Actually, just to clarify, this was answered at the last council meeting. And in fact, we're not actually borrowing monies in excess of $15 million from Royal Bank. What we approved by resolution at the last meeting was temporary financing. It's basically a revolving line of credit for up to $16.3 million for the temporary financing of the construction of the new recreation center. And the rate on that one is prime minus 0.55. We have not used that. We've been able to use our appropriated surplus. And the idea for getting this revolving loan was just in case we needed it and to be able to delay a little bit actually going out for our actual long-term loans till the rate was maybe a little bit more favorable. So that's it right now. There was also at that same meeting, we have dealings which we've actually, it's a dealing which we already have with the Royal Bank, but it is for a fixed rate loan of 1.32% for $1.1 million for the acquisition of capital assets. So that's what was approved last month. We will be looking at longer-term loans in the new year, but and we'll certainly be bringing that to council, so it'll be an open discussion on that as well. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you very much for it.
Thank you, Councillor Feeney. Thank you for your question, Mr. Robinson. From Michael Ely, 62 Promenade Ronald. Why is the grass along many of the public sidewalks and some parks not being cut as often as in the past? I know that for environmental reasons, it was stated that grass would be cut less often, but the grass and weeds are so long, it is dangerous along Avon, for example, going down the hill next to Royal West, as it forces pedestrians to come too close to traffic. In the parks, like Ronald Park, the grass in September was very long and rarely cut. This is dangerous for the small children using the park, particularly regarding ticks. Councillor Yulin, please.
Yes, thank you for your question, Michael. So yes, you're correct that it is being mowed a little bit less for environmental reasons. And frankly, in the summer, generally, we don't have to mow it that often because the grass isn't growing that long. Generally, it's just in the spring. We've had a very unusual summer and fall, like 19 degrees not long ago. So there was a bit more growth than there normally is in the fall. And perhaps the grass then got longer than we would like to have it. I'm not quite sure what you're meaning when you talk about dangerous along Avon, going down the hill next to Royal West. There isn't any sidewalk there, so I'm not really sure what you mean by that one. But if you do see areas of the town that you think are specifically dangerous with respect to the length of the grass, you can let us know at Public Works and we'll take a look at it. But generally, cutting the grass every couple of weeks is very sufficient for the temperatures after about the month of May. So thanks for your question, but contact us if you have any specifics. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yulin. Thank you for your question. Next question comes from Kurt Johnson, 251 Percival. It seems the Easton project is taking almost as long to build as the Olympic Stadium. Is there any particular reason for the slow pace of construction? And the second question, should we be worried about Sajo's ability to deliver on the new recreation center? And just so you know, the same first question about the pace of the building across the street was asked a couple of other times, so I'll just mention them when I come across those names. Yes, the project is taking long to complete. I'm not sure where they are in terms of delays. In terms of contractual commitments regarding the timelines, they're not in default yet. As for the new sports and recreation center, yes, Sajo is the general contractor there, but the town is the maître d'œuvre with very clear guidelines and timeframes. There is not an issue of proceeding when we've reached a certain level of sales or whatever the case may be. The town is in charge there. Thanks for your question. Next question comes from Margaret Mayon, 11 Rennie, Montreal-Ouest. My gardener is asking for a $450 supplement to rake my leaves because he has to buy new electric blowers to do fall and spring cleaning of my property. How do I resolve this problem? Could you not allow gas blowers for November and April, May, which is not a big request? Councillor Yulin, please.
Sure. Thanks for your question, Margaret. Well, as I don't know if you were watching the meeting earlier, we did have a question about that, and this was a bylaw that was passed last year to come into effect this year. That is Wednesday on November 1st. I don't know what to say about your contractor charging you $450 extra to rake the leaves. The fact is that this was passed a year ago. So yeah, I understand that it's expensive. But we are among many municipalities and boroughs that are doing this, including Westmount, NDG, Ville-Marie, Verdun, St. Lambert. Surrounding us, there are municipalities and boroughs that have enacted the same bylaw. So electric leaf blowers are going to be the standard, if not now, very soon. I would ask you just to have a conversation with your contractor and maybe work out something with him for this year. But in the future, they're all going to be electric blowers. Thanks for your question.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mayon. Next question comes from Mark Johnson, 35 Campbell. I know there are many Montreal-West citizens concerned about the length of time it's taking to complete the construction of the Eastern project. I was unable to attend the October 20th meeting when Noam Schnitzer addressed the long-term benefits of the new recreation center and the Easton project. Perhaps an update was provided that evening, but for those who could not attend, would it be possible to get an update on the status of when the developer expects the construction project to be completed? I don't have any idea, unfortunately, Mr. Johnson, about what Mr. Schnitzer presented in that presentation. That was his presentation. We're not aware of it at all. And to be clear, there are two separate projects. The Easton project is one, and the recreation center is a different thing. The town is the maître d'œuvre for the recreation center. Sajo is just the general contractor. Next question comes from Andy Malolepsy, 321 Brock North. Again, when will the Easton project be completed? Second question, the rail crossing at Westminster is an accident waiting to happen, especially now that the sun will go down sooner. I don't have any specific recommendations. I'm concerned about people crossing the three-way traffic, especially kids. And on a positive note, the Spookathon at Town Hall yesterday was excellent. Kudos to the organizers. So the first question I've answered 3 times already. Mr. Malolepsy, the level crossing at Westminster, we all know it's a problem. I think that EXO's done a good job so far with the little modifications that they've made, opening up that other exit so that you can exit onto Sherbrooke and be able to use the sidewalks properly rather than coming out and being stuck in the middle of the traffic at Westminster and Sherbrooke itself. So unfortunately, these are small changes. and continue. I'm going to always tell people to continue to exercise extreme caution when they're crossing that level crossing. There is just not an easy fix for it, unfortunately. I think the engineers have looked at it, and the kind of fix would require completely changing the whole center of town with an exorbitant amount of money that the provincial government just isn't ready to be spending right now. Thank you for your question. Next question comes from Robert Barnes, 227 Bedbrook. The City of Montreal is developing a number of sponge parks to reduce flood risk. Will the landscape around the new arena also be designed to absorb large volumes of water during heavy rainfall? Thank you. Yes, Dr. Barnes, the answer is yes. There are two actual retention basins, one that's going to be in the front of the basin, built into the landscaping, and one that's in the back of the building, basin in the back of the building to do the same thing. So yes, that kind of thing has already been incorporated into the designs and what will be built. Thank you for your question. Andra Sivinen at 26 Brock South asks, can you please provide an update on your discussions with the City of Montreal regarding responding to emergencies that cross jurisdictional boundaries, such as the July water main break and flood on Brock South? Has a clear action plan or procedure been established so that disasters like this can be avoided in the future? Ms. Sivinen, I did meet with Mayor Gracia Kasauki-Katawa in August to ensure that the teams in Montreal-West and the teams in Montreal developed a clear protocol on how to best avoid these situations, the situation that arose in July. And from what I'm understanding, a protocol is either been clarified or they're reviewing it. I know a protocol is there, and I think it's just being reviewed or modified as it stands right now. Thanks for your question. Val Curral, 63 Courtney North. Hi, Council. Is there a timeline for opening up City Hall and administration office doors to 5 days a week, again from the current 3? And Mr. Curral, we're actually in the process right now of discussing that in Council. Right now, we're open 3 days a week, and that's a little bit of a leftover, if you want, from the COVID days. But now it's a question of some teletravail, work from home. So we're trying to see what we can do to accommodate everything, what we need to keep open, and the staff, and the residents' requests. I have to be honest with you, though, we haven't heard, I don't think I've heard any complaints that people haven't been able to get things done in the 3 days. But like I said, we're discussing it right now. Thank you for your question. Randy Park at 220 Percival asks, hello, I'm sure this has already been asked, but wondering what the plan is for a temporary dog run during the winter, as the one-year town hall is a little far for us living on the northern end of town and a little crowded. Councillor Small-Pennefather, please.
Thanks for your question, Randy. And I know it has been asked quite a few times since the rec center has been under construction, and we've really thought about this, but there are no plots of land that are available. There's nothing that we've had that's expanded since the decision was made to have the permanent dog run next to Town Hall. And there was obviously a reason about that. There was a consultation that took several years, and the reason we landed on the land that's next to Montreal-West is that that was the least intrusive in terms of the noise that would go on with dogs barking, would not infringe on people who lived in the town in terms of noise levels. And we've looked at other parts of the town for potential, and the park, Percival Park, as you know, that's been mentioned, but that is land that belongs to Elizabeth Ballantyne, and it's not something that we think would be safe to have a dog run co-located with children who were using the area for recess. And in terms of using other parks, unfortunately, there just isn't the size that's available that would be necessary. So unfortunately, for the time being, we will not be able to propose a temporary park. And I understand that it's an inconvenience, and our dogs do need to get exercise, but I'm hoping people will be able to make it to the permanent dog run that's next to Town Hall. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question comes from Gordon Mitchell, 27 Brock South. Could you clarify the status of your discussions with the City of Montreal about which jurisdiction is going to accept the financial responsibility for the disaster of July 13-14 and when compensation will be distributed? Mr. Mitchell, the town of Montreal-West sent a mise en demeure back in July, right after the water break. Further than that, Montreal appointed an external adjuster to investigate. We've been contacted by that adjuster, and we've given our version of things, but we've not heard back since. Like we here in Montreal-West, we have an insurance company, and they kind of take care of things. But in Montreal, they're self-insured. So in the end, it's their calls whether or not they're going to compensate or whether they're going to ask people to proceed with legal proceedings. That's the situation where it stands right now. You've done your homework on your side to file your complaints. We've done the same thing on our side. I don't have more of an answer than that right now. Last question comes from Judy Kennedy, 151 Strathern North. Is it possible that the town of Montreal-West could allow tempos for people of a particular age group as they do in Côte-Saint-Luc? In point of fact, Côte-Saint-Luc has a bylaw against tempos. However, they allow people of a certain age to have tempos on property through a permit. Today's first snowfall reminded me of how convenient one of these structures could be for me, as it is getting more difficult to get out of in the winter and clean off the car. Thank you for your consideration, Judy Kennedy. Councillor Torres, please.
Yes, thank you for your question. This is a question that comes every year, maybe once or twice. So I decided prior to today, do a little bit of research. So I've spoken to a good number of people, especially seniors like myself, about the benefits of the tempo. And I have to say that unanimously, I have your and the other person who let us know every year ask for this, that for aesthetic reasons, they do not want it. However, it's not enough, so I did a little bit further research, and I researched other towns as well as the opinion of some insurance company. And it might not seem so attractive. At least it has some safety issues that we do have to consider as a town or yourself as an individual. Some of the points that I found, for example, are these temporary shelters for cars are not designed to stand a lot of snow. So after a snowfall or regularly, it has to be cleaned. The top has to be cleaned. And I think this came from an insurance company. Also, there are a lot of regulations when it comes to the installation. Apparently, some people hold it down by holding some bricks. It has to be properly installed because there have been cases where the tempo has flown away and injured people. Also, it has to have a proper drainage on the side, or at least space for drainage, because otherwise you can have an excess of accumulation of snow. When it comes to municipalities, there are a lot of regulations concerning the tempos as well. For example, some of them do not allow them to install on the front part of the driveway. It has to be on the side of the driveway or on the back. So that's not going to help cleaning the snow in front of the house. Other issue of safety issue is the visibility. When the person is backing up and this tempo is too close to the sidewalk, for example, it limits the visibility backing up or that of the neighbor. So there are other numbers, and it has been suggested that I write a report, and I will be writing a report with all my findings, but no, we will not consider the tempos in this town, not only because of the aesthetic reasons, but also because there are a number of safety issues attached to it. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres. We're going to now move on to the contracts in the town clerk's office. Séance ordinaire du conseil en 2023. Le calendrier, s'il vous plaît.
Je propose que les séances ordinaires de conseil municipal en 2024 aient lieu le dernier lundi des mois suivants aux dates indiquées à 20h en la salle de musique de l'Hôtel de Ville, janvier avant-dernier lundi, excepté en avril, dernier jeudi, en juin, dernier mardi et en décembre, troisième lundi. Donc, le 22 janvier, le 26 février, le 25 mars, le 25 avril, le 27 mai, le 25 juin, le 26 août, le 30 septembre, le 28 octobre, le 25 novembre et le 16 décembre. Que ce calendrier soit publié dans le journal de Le Suburban et sur le site Internet de la Ville.
Merci, la conseillère Simon Pennefather. Je peux voir l'appui, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Yolande. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
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 Merci. Intermunicipal agreement concerning a mandate to the Union des municipalités de Québec, UMQ, for the purchase of property and liability insurance and the hiring of a consultant and a manager. The town has taken advantage of this in the past. We mandate UMQ, who does a group call, to see what the best rate we can get for purchase of property and liability insurance. We were with them 5 years ago. It's time now to renew, and we're going to give them a mandate to search what they can come up with. So if I could have somebody make the motion, please.
Certainly. Whereas pursuant to section 29.9.1 of the Cities and Towns Act, CQLR C-19, a municipality may enter into an agreement with the Union des Municipalités du Québec, UMQ, to award an insurance contract or a contract for the supply of services. Whereas in 2018, the town entered into an agreement with other municipalities of the island of Montreal to form a purchasing group of general insurance coverage and to obtain consultant and risk management services, and said agreement expires on December 31st, 2023. Whereas it is deemed advisable to enter into a new agreement with the municipalities which are members of this purchasing group for another 5-year period from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2028. Therefore, I move that the town agree to take part in the purchasing group described in the preamble of this resolution and headed by the UMQ, that the mayor and town clerk be authorized to sign on behalf of the town the agreement entitled Entente de regroupement des municipalités de l'île de Montréal relativement à l'achat et commune d'assurance des dommages et des services de consultants et de gestionnaire de risques pour la période 2024, 2028.
Merci. La conseillère Yulin, je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci. La conseillère Fini, tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît?
Oui.
Oui.
Merci. Administration and Finances, 10A, approval of disbursements for September 23 to October 27, 2023.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I move that the list of accounts payable from September 23rd to October 27th, 2023, totaling $682,767.99, be approved and paid as listed.
Thank you. Councillor Fini, can I have a seconder, please?
Yes, I second that.
Thank you, Councillor Torres. All in favor, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Délégation des pouvoirs pour le mois d'octobre 2023.
Oui, je propose que soient approuvés les rapports de la directrice générale concernant l'exercice des pouvoirs délégués en vertu du règlement numéro 2005/002 pour le mois d'octobre 2023.
Merci. La conseillère Torres, je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, je l'appuie, Monsieur le maire.
Merci. La conseillère Small-Pennefather, tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît?
Oui.
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 Merci. Application for financial assistance to the Green Municipal Fund of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM. So this is a fund that we're applying for, a grant that we're applying for to further help fund the Sports and Recreation Center. But it's like related to best practices for energy efficiency.
Very good. Whereas the town council has adopted resolution 2022-1006-004 on October 6, 2022, declaring its commitment to undertake the construction of a new sports and recreation center that will meet the best practices in terms of energy efficiency. Whereas town council has adopted loan bylaws number 2023-001 and 2023-003 to finance the construction of this new facility. Therefore, I move that the town of Montreal-West apply to the Green Municipal Fund of the FCM in order to obtain financial assistance towards the implementation of best practices in terms of energy efficiency. And secondly, that the town undertake to support its part of the project costs following the conditions of this program, as well as all of the ongoing operational costs of the new facility once construction is completed. And last, that the Director General, Maitre Rafael Destasio, be authorized to submit and sign the application as well as any other documents for the purpose of this resolution.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yulin, can I have a seconder, please?
Yes, I second that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fini, all in favor, please?
Aye.
Thank you. Amendment to Resolution 2023-0130-012, purchase of a public security vehicle.
I move that resolution number 202-30130-012 be amended by providing that the expense shall be charged to the operating budget code 02-920-20-725 instead of the working fund.
Thank you very much. Councillor Small-Pennefather, can I have a seconder, please?
I second it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Urban Department, Site Planning Projects and Architectural Integration Program.
I move to acknowledge receipt of the minutes of a meeting held by the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, on October 25th, 2023. To approve as presented under the SPAIP the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 43 Nelson, replacement of 2 doors on the rear facade. 7 Wolseley South, replacement of 2 basement windows. 454 Brook North, construction of a garden shed in the backyard. Third, to approve with conditions under the SPAIP the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 452, 454, replacement of a balcony door and a window.
Thank you very much. Councillor Torres, can I have a seconder, please?
I second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Small-Pennefather. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Public Works, Organic Waste Collection Contract, the second renewal.
Whereas the current contract was awarded to Entreprise Multi-PM Incorporated by Resolution 20201130-009 for a period of 2 years ending December 31st, 2022, with 2 renewal options of 1 year each. Whereas the tender document provides that the applicable price during the optional years to be increased from the previous year following the Consumer Price Index CPI for Montreal in the preceding 12 months. Whereas said contract was renewed for 2023 by virtue of Resolution 2022-1024-012. Therefore, I move that the contract for the collection and transportation of organic waste on Tuesdays of Entreprise Multi-PM Incorporated be extended for another year starting January 1st and ending on December 31st, 2024, for a price of $116,020.76 before taxes, to be indexed following the Montreal CPI since January 2023. Secondly, that this expense be charged to the budget code 02-470-00-490, and that the mayor and town clerk be authorized to execute any contract and other documents required to implement this resolution as the case may be.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yulin, can I have a seconder, please?
Yes, I second that.
Thank you, Councillor Torres. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Contrat des collectes des déchets, second renouvellement.
Attendu que le contrat actuel fût adjudé à WM Québec Inc. en vertu de la résolution numéro 2020-1008-004 pour une durée de 2 ans venant à l'échéance de 31 décembre 2022, plus 2 options de renouvellement d'1 année chacune. Attendu que le document appel d'offres prévoit que le prix de contrat durant l'année de l'option et celui de l'année antérieure augmenté suivant l'indice des prix à la consommation IPC pour Montréal dans la 12 mois précédente. Attendu que le dit contrat a été renouvelé en 2023 pour la résolution numéro 2022-09-20-012. En conséquence, je propose numéro 1, que le contrat de WM Québec Inc. pour la collecte et le transport des déchets de jeudi soit renouvelé une autre année de 1er janvier au 31 décembre 2024 au prix de 181 111 091 $ avant taxe, plus l'ajustement applicable selon l'IPC pour Montréal depuis le 1er janvier 2023. 2. Que cette dépense soit imputée au poste budgétaire 02-490-00-491. 3. Que le maire et le greffier soient autorisés à signer tout document requis aux fins de mise en œuvre de la présente résolution, le cas échéant.
Merci, la conseillère Small-Pennefather. Je peux voir l'appui, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Fini. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît?
Oui.
Merci, thank you. Awarding of a contract for the purchase and installation of a heating boiler and a water heater. I don't know if you've noticed, but Town Hall's been a little bit cold. We lost our boiler, our heating boiler, so in the process of installing a new one.
Whereas the heating system of the town hall is no longer functional, Whereas the Public Works Department assessed that the current equipment cannot be repaired and must urgently be replaced. Whereas the department proceeded to obtain prices from 2 contractors, therefore I move that the awarding to the lowest bidder, Allard et Ricard, of a purchase and installation contract for a Lochinvar heating boiler, KBX-500 of 500 TBTU per hour, a water heater, SIT 80 and stainless, be ratified at a price of $41,000 plus taxes. That the purchase of equipment, filtration option, and light monitor as per the offer of Allard et Ricard be approved for an extra amount of $4,500 plus taxes, and that this expense be charged to budget codes 02-920-72-725, taking into account the applicable grants.
Thank you very much. Councillor Torres, can I have a seconder, please?
Yes, I second that.
Thank you. Councillor Feeney, all in favor, please?
Aye.
Thank you very much. We're going right to appointments, designation of the Pro-Mayor. The last persons who held the office of Pro-Mayor, starting with most recent, were Councillors Maria Torres, Elizabeth Hewlin, Lawrence Malpennefather, and Colleen Feeney. So if I could have somebody make the motion.
Yes, I move that Councillor Colleen Feeney be appointed Pro-Mayor for the months of December 2023 and January, February, and March 2024. That Colleen Feeney be designated to replace Mayor Benny Masala on the Agglomeration Council as necessary, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded, if needed, to the Agglomeration Council. Last, that this appointment take effect on December 1st, 2023.
Thank you very much. Councillor Torres, can I have a seconder, please?
I second that.
Thank you. Councillor Hewlin, all in favor, please?
Aye.
Thank you. I hereby deposit a comparative statement of financial results as of September 30, 2023, and it was also tabled with council. Notice of motion, je donne avis de motion pour un règlement modifiant le règlement 2009-013 sur la collecte et la disposition des déchets, des résidus verts et des matières recyclables. Je donne avis de motion à une... je donne un avis de motion de la présentation à une prochaine séance de conseil de le règlement intitulé dans le titre. Un projet de règlement sera mis à la disposition du public lors d'une prochaine séance et au moins 10 jours avant l'adoption de ce règlement par le conseil. And that's it. We're going to move right to the second question period. If there's anybody that has questions on the agenda only, you're more than welcome to. Go ahead, Mr. Marcosi.
Yes, Councillor Finney, regarding MADA, you keep bragging about it, but I fail to see any concrete examples of how you make life of senior citizens in this town any better. We just heard some excuses for not allowing shelters, car shelters. When it came time to increase taxes, you did not spread it over 3 years, which was done before in this town, and it's done every time in the city of Montreal. And there are many examples that, for example, that seniors today have to subsidize 200 skaters building a new arena. Or what is one single example of how you help seniors?
Okay. Thank you very much for your question, Mr. Marcusi, and I'm actually happy to be able to respond to that, because when we made our seniors plan in 2020, it was very ambitious, probably way too ambitious. We actually had 90 action items. So the way it is, it has to be based on the criteria that, as set out by the World Health Organization. So we had those criteria, and they have to do with your buildings, transportation, etc. and there was 90 action items that we set out. Many towns had a fraction of that. And when we did our review, we had a very successful review last week, and we went through the items that were either completed or partially completed. We actually realized we had done over 45 of them. So I'm not going to bore you with 45 right now. I did present at the meeting the top 3 out of each of the 9 different objectives. So we have done a lot. Can we do everything? No, and it often can seem whenever something is done, it's, because you're senior friendly. I mean, it doesn't mean that we do every single thing in the town. We have other things on which we balance it. In terms of the tempos, as came up at tonight's meeting, I think Councillor Torres gave a very good explanation. Not only are they aesthetically not beautiful, not only have many people told us that they don't want to see them around, but there's also many, many issues why they aren't even safe or there are problems with them. So, it's easy to sort of poke fun, and there are things that we have to do. There are other things that are on our list that aren't completed yet. It's a 5-year plan, and we're continuing through it, but we're really right on schedule. And we asked people to come in and set their priorities for the next 2.5 years while this plan is still in effect, and they did, and I will be presenting those as well, and I'll be giving a report on it in the upcoming Informer.
I'm a senior, been for quite a few years, and I still wait for one example of where you improved my life in this town.
Okay.
One example.
One example. Well, one of the things on our list was to be able to have accessible facilities, and we are moving with that with the new recreation center.
For $40 million, but that's something else.
That is one of the things we were doing. Another example is a seniors website. In our communications area, we've done an awful lot. We set up a very, very thorough website on the town website, a menu, and in it is all kinds of information that for seniors in terms of where they can get, health, etc. If you have looked at it, it's one of the most thorough ones I've seen around in town. And we did an inventory of the seniors when we had COVID. We set up a whole list of people to contact, and we had volunteers contacting them all throughout. So we have maintained that contact with the seniors the vulnerable seniors who need help. So we have done that. As I say, we haven't done absolutely everything. We've certainly put signs up about bicycle safety that people are still ignoring. That's hard to enforce some of those. But anyway, as I say, I can show you the 45 articles that we have done, but we've actually made great progress on our plan to date.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Marcosi.
Earlier today, just one comment. Earlier today, I asked about sending the tax bills or whatever communication is by email, which is big thing for seniors in particular.
You're automatically assuming, Mr. Marcusi, that seniors use email. I think you're making a mistake
Well,
there.
I think that seniors in this town use email.
My mother's a senior. My mother doesn't know what a computer looks like.
I'm a senior. I much prefer getting it by mail.
Yeah, I'm sorry. you can't make that.
You know that you pay in the bank when you want to get a statement, a paper statement in the bank, you pay extra.
How do you get your notice of assessment from the government?
I do get it.
How do you get it?
On my email.
No, it comes by paper. It doesn't come
No, absolutely not.
Mine still comes by paper. Figure it out.
Because you didn't ask for it.
Anyway, thank you very much, Mr. Marcusi.
All I'm saying is that you're doing now.
Thanks, Mr. Marcusi. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Cynthia Nichols, 25 Westminster South. We still have problems with the land. As a matter of fact, not only is the soil deteriorating, but we had a water main break here. Can you tell me a little bit about that, considering I just got my water bill tax, and you've got a water heater problem, and there just seems to be a real issue with water in this town.
The
Why
water-
are we
the water
having so
heater-
many sinkholes? Why are we having so many water issues?
The water
Why
heater-
is
the
the
water
boiler
heater
for the
issue-
town hall breaking down? Why are you now contracting? I mean, there are so many questions. And not to mention the fact that pretty much every day I have to clean up urine done by the SAJA workers and the cement buckets and all of this stuff. And I'm supposed to pay for that as well as having my business, my home, my family, everything disrupted?
Thank you.
Come on,
So
I
to-
need a
to answer-
reduction
to answer your
at
question,
least on my
to answer
water
your
bill.
question, the water heater and the boiler broke because of the rains. It wasn't a water break, it broke because of the rains that flooded the basement here. In terms of if there are issues with SAJO,
Oy, come on. This is
are
what
you
you're
gonna let
telling
me
us.
answer the question or aren't
Go,
you?
go ahead.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead. You know,
If you're
there are
having
mo-
issues, if you're having
there
issues
are
with
moments-
the SAJO,
there
if
are
you're having
moments-
if you're having
No, I'm
issues with
having
SAJO
issues with council because you've given them permission to do this to me and my property.
Okay, that's,
Every single, excuse
Thank you.
me,
Thank you very
but
much.
Last
Thank you.
Thursday,
Thank you very much. We're gonna
they
move on.
pulled up, someone went in.
question was sent in by Catherine Newman at 319 Westminster North. I've been a resident for 23 years, and we need help as we are facing a major parking program, and winter's almost here. Please help. We are overloaded with cars. We pay to park, but there's nowhere to park. Something has to be done to help us as we are heading into chaos. I'm going to take your question under advisement, Ms. Newman. I'm going to see if I can't pass that along to the group headed up by Councillor Small-Pennefather to look at the parking issues in general. Maybe they can reach out to you and get a little bit more clarification on where you're having issues parking. That's it. Can I have somebody terminate the meeting, please?
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose de lever la séance.
Merci, la conseillère Yulin. Je peux voir l'appui, s'il vous plaît?
Je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Fini. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Aye.
Thank you very much.